into his deck to fight Gristlebrand with Show and Tell. But the other part of it was that he was realizing as he was playing, he would look at the board all the time, and his opponent would have things like Tarmogoyf or whatever out there, and he'd have 4 elves out. And he was like, you know, these guys are all 1/1s anyway. What if everybody was 1/1s? I've got more things than he has.
Right, so turn 1 Findhorn Elves from Caleb Durward, and that's going to get swords immediately, and correctly, should be. It's possible he kept a very land-light hand. He does have Dryad Arbor, but remember, it can't tap for mana on the first turn, and he'll make Quirion.
Quirion Dryad is one of my favorite cards of all time. The tricks it can do with a single mana source of some kind, like say that Dryad Arbor, are actually pretty impressive.
Or that Priest of Titania in his hand.
Oh, that's kind of dirty.
Well, he'll probably drop Priest next turn. If he untaps with Priest, we'll win. Or something close to it.
I mean, he could just have Turbo Nothing draw. Ooh, wow, look at that.
The GT, yep, turn 2, he's Stoneforging for GT. If the GT gets counters on it, it's usually game over for Caleb.
Caleb's main deck ways to handle an Umezawa's GT is 1 Viridian Shaman.
Yep, that's pretty standard. 1 Green Shaman, 4 Green Sun's Zenith.
Priest. If he, what does that Quirion Ranger do?
If you return a forest, you may untap a green creature.
That's right. I was mimicking what Joe was saying when
Yeah.
I picked it up. And he returns the forest, untaps the Dryad Arbor, lays that forest down again, plus 2 mana for the turn. Thank you, Quirion Ranger.
Probably a little Visionary here, see if he can get another mana. Maybe Nettle Sentinel, but probably just Visionary. Being mana efficient was it seems to me to be more important.
We'll see. Does he agree? Oh, Quirion Ranger. There was a time you were in the top 10 1-drops of all time. Elvish Visionary.
Draws a card. Probably not a land. Hopefully it would be a land, but that's very wishful thinking.
Next turn, Priest of Titiana, minimally, without doing any more work.
No, he already did that.
He already
Can't
did
do
that.
it again.
Yeah. Without doing any more work, can produce 3 6 mana. Now that's without anything helping it out, like one of the elves in Caleb's hand. This means that Caleb has access to a minimum of 9 mana next turn.
And the
Swords,
sword,
never mind.
Swords plus dropping GT here is very powerful for Joe Bernal. So what Caleb will have to do is play some sort of elf.
Actually, one thing to think about.
If he has
block with Arbor Elf, bounce it with Quirion.
Bounce the Dryad Arbor?
Bounce the
Dryad Arbor works that way too.
That's what I meant to
Your
say.
typical defense to it, and that's actually a very good defense. Your typical defense is to play Wirewood Symbiote to deny GT counters. But the Ranger in tandem with the Dryad Arbor can also do that.
And Findhorn and anything else?
Nettle.
And another Quirion Ranger.
Okay.
Wow. Go. Here comes the GT.
That's fine. Like you said,
Yep.
Barring a Swords to Plowshares, a third one, this should be fine. A third one will be very bad for Caleb.
Lingering Souls, that makes the dodging on the
now
Dryad Arbor.
So now he's telling Joe that Caleb has to win this turn now.
It's doable. He's gonna need a top deck. Alternately, he could do a Green Sun Zenith for 3 if he has one. What did you draw, Caleb? Visionary, Nettle Sentinel, and I couldn't catch that last card. Visionary, Nettle Sentinel. Slow down, Joe. All right, slow down, Caleb. Mirror Entity.
So with Mirror Entity,
Mirror Entity on the table.
he does not have any loops currently with Mirror Entity in play.
Return Savannah to Quirion Ranger to untap the Arbor. Dryad Arbor.
Recast. The first Quirion Ranger has been used. So yeah, he has 3 mana available. He doesn't, like I said, he still doesn't have actually a combo in play.
He can make 4 mana with a little bit more work, but
Yep. Keep in mind, Mirror Entity usually is not just a value swing. Usually Mirror Entity is used to combo in the deck. It works in tandem with Wirewood Symbiote to create a fair number of infinite combos.
Chris Anderson is a huge Mirror Entity attacker. I've watched him drop the entity and just kill people so many times. It's awesome. But I mean, ultimately, it can do that. It's fine for doing that. But you really like that combo-rific symbiote Mirror Entity plan. And we equip with the spirit in the air. Here it comes. Take 1 and 2 counters now on the Jite.
I'm having 4 mana up here. Caleb can protect himself from Jite if Joe Bernal tries to use it aggressively, but once that Jite gets 4 counters on it, next turn that option won't be there. Even so, with it set up as it is, Caleb trying to combo or do something very impressive through this is very difficult. A hand with a sword, with double swords Mystic, 3 lands from Bernal will be very hard for Caleb to defeat. So draw here from Caleb, and the draw was, it looks like a Llanowar Elf, I believe. I'm going to return and start creating mana here.
And he's marking the Quirion Ranger as having used its ability by turning it upside down. 1 mana. 2 mana total.
Yeah, so what he's going to try to do then is he still needs to find one of the mana elves, be it Birchlore or Heritage, or possibly a Wirewood Symbiote would work here too. And he's going to have to get there with Elvish Visionary. He doesn't have too much leeway to do this. The Jite is going to get him pretty quickly.
Visionary.
Yep, that's the last draw.
He got
another land. That's not going to cut it. The Jite is probably just going to massacre his team.
It's not a massacre yet.
When he goes to activate the Jite, if he tries to activate the Mirror Entity, the Jite will get to kill 2 things.
Nettle Sentinel. He can make 4 mana still. Right now, from this position, 3 mana plus an untap for 4 mana. And Joe has to be careful. Caleb is setting up here for a potential swing that's very potent.
So yeah, if he activates to go for a swing, he can make his guys 3s, I believe.
4s. He's got 4 mana.
Well, yeah, but he's going to lose 2 of them.
I mean, he's got 4 mana now.
What Joe can do here is attack with the Spirit.
Yep.
Get 4 counters on it, and then 1 at a time try to kill Mirror Entity 4 times right now. That will take most of Caleb's outs out of this out.
We're gonna see Bob.
You want
Dark
to,
Confidant.
yeah, you'd want to save some
Souls.
number of counters in case Caleb drops. You know, Caleb's hand is Glimpse Heritage Druid. You can't really let that happen.
And Lingering Souls and Dark Confidant.
Okay, Bernal's in. I would, during my main phase here, during my turn, if you want to kill Mirror Entity, you should do it now. So yeah, he's going to go at it once. So Caleb has to tap 2 mana to save it each time. He can't do that very much. He can do it 2 more times off the 2 Quirions. So if Joe wants to kill the Mirror Entity, he's going to have to try to kill it with all 4 counters.
1 mana in pool. Thinking about it. 1 mana in pool. Return this.
To untap that. I suppose he actually only has 1 more time to do it. That's my mistake on there, but
2
activates
again.
it for 2.
Untap it. 3 mana in pool. That uses both the Quirions.
So he's activating it for 3 this time?
Yep.
Okay.
It's being killed in response. 1 left.
I specifically see the point of putting it up to 3. Misty Rainforest, that's really not going to do it. Caleb now with a fistful of lands.
Caleb scoops it on up.
Yep. GT gets him, Joe Bernal gets the first game. Alright, so post board, there are 2 parishes in Joe's board. Those are clearly coming in.
It seems monstrous for Caleb.
There's an extra engineered explosives, which is also very good, and a path to exile, which I would also use.
I think that Caleb is going to bring in his own Umazawa's GT, just as a GT fighter.
GT defense, absolutely.
Do you like Thalia?
Not particularly. Joe's biggest threat is your GT and Creed Stoneforge. What we just saw there with GT is how Joe plans to win. That's how you beat the Elf deck, is out of Stoneblade, is you get counters on a GT. That doesn't really stop that plan.
Do you like Mortar Pod?
I do like Mortar Pod, absolutely.
Okay. Mortar Pod makes it hard to use the GT the first time.
Mortar Pod.
Almost all of Joe's creatures, besides Stoneforge Mystic itself, are X1s. So it can be something that you can use just to off Joe's creatures with your potentially not so useful elves.
Okay, I see.
I'm just throwing out possibilities because I mean there seems like there's a lot of cards in Caleb Durward's sideboard that don't otherwise have much application in this matchup. So Mazavith, another possibility for Umazawa's GT.
You can use it. I don't. That's for Reanimator.
Well, actually, think about it, though. There's no Wastelands in Joe's style of deck. A Mazavith with 2 crop rotations absolutely answers GT. There's nothing that Joe can do to stop it, man.
Suppose it works then. I don't know. I don't know if he'd set it in, but yeah, you might be right. So he gets
I don't know that he would side it in, but it certainly solves the problem. If GT is the way you lose, then Mazavith solves it.
GT is one of the main ways you lose, so that much is true. There also, of note, there's a Zealous Persecution in Joe Bernal's deck.
Oh, that's scary.
You can also lose to Dark Confidant in certain, plus some Swords to Plowshares. I still don't. The problem with boarding in Maze is that Maze is a really terrible card in the Elf deck. Outside of, if it's not winning the game, it's being terrible. It's only doing one of the 2.
I don't mind it as a tutor target. I mean, because you've got tutors for it.
Right, and that's why there's a 1 of in there. So maybe he might play that. But yeah, certainly. Oh, that was Mortar Pod you said out of the Elf deck. Oh, no, I don't like Mortar Pod out of the Elf deck.
Okay, there we go. That's what I was curious about.
Oh no, I thought it was in Bernal's deck.
Oh no.
Of course, you brought in the Mortar Pod from Bernal's deck.
Yeah, Bernal's deck it's great, but in Caleb's deck, I wasn't sure how you felt about it because I mean, it doesn't stop a Mystic, but it does stop all the other guys.
Correct.
For those of you who are just joining us, I'm Adrian Sullivan. I'm joined in the booth by Matthias Hunt. This is the 5th round of the Star City Games Open Series Legacy Open here in St. Louis-ish in Collinsville, Illinois, right across the river from St. Louis. Caleb Durward and Joe Bernal. Caleb, the winner this morning, the champion in the standard portion, hoping to recreate that today.
Yeah, on Pendlehaven.
Oh, ouch.
Pendlehaven Pinner Elves and the turn 1 engineered explosives from Joe Bernal. Very strong. Caleb will have to play around this a little bit. If he just can get something like Priest of Titania in play, this should be fine. He can probably play around it. A lot of times, especially in game 2s of Elves, you're not actually trying to combo someone out. You're just... Alright, he's going to go straight for just a glimpse, for a value glimpse here. So Glimpse of Nature, tapping Pindhorn Elves. To play Birchshore Rangers, drawing a card. As Gaia's Cradle at 2. Remember, these can all get wiped. 2 mana, Nettle Sentinel, drawing a card. If he has Heritage Druid, he can keep going. He has one more, so another Nettle Sentinel untapping. He's going to go for a turn 2. Alright. I mean, this kind of commitment, you can commit into it, but he's committing straight into the explosives.
Glimpse.
Another Glimpse.
Wow.
So double Glimpse. Another mana for Heritage Root. He's got a turn 2. 2 draws.
I think Caleb has it.
3 green. Is there another Nettle in there? Visionary, untap, draw 3 cards. 1 green floating. Yeah, feels like he does. 4 green floating. This is Nettle Sentinel. 3 green floating, draw 2. This is done.
One of the things I like about decks like High Tide and decks like Elves, you can actually just practice the deck all by yourself.
Yep.
Just play at home.
Viridian Shaman, the explosives. And everyone else just
Shows
shooting.
like,
okay,
that's
all right,
fine,
that
that's
happened.
fine. You got me. Okay, got it.
Elves really not normally a turn 2. It has very few turn 2 draws.
A quiet little smile from Caleb until Joe breaks the ice, and then Caleb lets a laugh fly.
Right, Caleb evens it up. Sometimes combo decks do that. Sometimes they not draw you.
You can see right behind Joe there, Ruben Bressler. I don't know, you play High Tide. Do you enjoy just sitting down with your High Tide deck at an empty table and playing out hands?
I feel like I know how to do that. So I usually like the interactive part of it.
Gotcha. I can just kind of just sometimes enjoy with a combo deck like this, just playing it and watching how beautiful the deck is. Joe Bernal now on the play in Game 3.
I kind of have a soft spot for Elf Combo. Elf Combo is the deck that I took to my first ever PTQ top 8, back when it was in Extended. So I don't play it all that much sense, but I always still, that was the Curio build. But, I was like, I don't know. I've always been fond of the deck, I guess, from that.
I think the first time I played Elves in a PTQ, it was in an era when you could play when you were already qualified. And I think it was around 1999 was the last time I played Elves in a tournament. I really enjoyed it, but...
Not your style?
No, I like it.
There's no lightning bolt in it.
There's always been something else that I've liked to play more.
Name me lightning. Now that there's no lightning bolt in Standard, though, even before you have to play other things.
Stone Right. Yeah, I do have a mono red beatdown deck in Standard I've been playing on Magic Online. It's not quite good enough, but it's fun.
Stone Right probably suffers from the same problem that there's this card called Gut Shot.
It does. Though you'd be surprised how often you get to just fireball someone with Stone Right. You lay the Stone Right and then hit them with a vampire that gets Stone Righted up.
Right.
Caleb Durward on the draw here. It's a big difference for Joe Bernal being able to have a potential for Thoughtseize or Inquisition, and then still on turn 2 have another one of those if he's lucky, and a Swords.
Well, yeah, this is definitely a matchup that's good for Elves, for the record. Or at least I really enjoy playing the matchup from the Elf side of it. The other deck, things that Elves, it's one of those combo decks which is very good against the fair decks of the format, but a little too slow against, say, some of the other combo decks of the format. Reanimator, in particular, not a very good matchup for Elves. Joe Bernal is heading down to 6 cards. Caleb keeping us down.
Well, the big fear for a deck like Elves against Reanimator is just get an Elesh Norn into play, says Reanimator.
Right.
And Elves goes...
They die. All right, I die.
Wah.
Yeah. I remember, I played Elves last time we were here in St. Louis at the Legacy Open. In my very first round, I remember losing the die roll. My opponent playing Flooded Strand Go. It's like, all right, well, I have my good draw. Forest Land Morels. Goes, well, end step I'll entomb this Alshorn, untap, animate dead. He showed me his hand with Daze and Force of Will in it, and I was like, well, that was okay. And I remember thinking to myself, why did I ever decide to play a deck without Force of Will in it? Not that it would have even mattered.
I think I see a glimpse of nature in Caleb's hand. And Caleb here shuffling Joe Bernal's deck before passing it back to him. Joe looks a little tired. He had a long day yesterday. Not as long as Caleb's.
Yeah.
Down to 6 for Joe.
Caleb hasn't lost a match in quite a while here in St. Louis.
It's true. Look at that. He's got a little smile on his face.
Remember, both these players, 2 wins from the top eight.
These guys, they go out to dinner together. You know, these are guys from the Chicago area. Joe, I think, is a little bit east of that, but he might actually be from Chicago as well.
No,
but I've definitely... Oh, there's the swords.
Just swords, whatever he does. Especially if you're going to play a turn 2 Mystic, just swords it. Which I think it looks like...
Another swords in hand. Dark
Bob.
Confidant. Ouch. This is a dangerous moment. If Caleb doesn't put out a lot, that Bob can just take over.
Right. He's going to play Thalia. So Caleb
shortcutting a little bit there, which is just fine if your opponent agrees.
Well, it's fine because it's not a legal play. Yeah. You can verbally say getting Savannah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. All right, a couple people seen walking by winning. Our Merfolk player from last round, still in it. Ryan Overturf, still also at X1. Maybe you'll see one of them break it back into the top 8. Both of them have previous top 8 experience. You know, both these players also doing very well. Joe Bernal and Caleb Durward.
Thalia, a 1-of in the board for Caleb Durward. You can see an Enlightened Tutor in Joe Bernal's hand. Stoneforge Mystic.
Bernal's hand's very good.
Swords to Plowshares.
Yep.
Joe comes in for 2.
Swords, such a strong card against elves.
No third land for Joe. There's a Glimpse, Horizon Canopy, Visionary, Green Sun Zenith. Caleb draws a card. Looks like a crop rotation. Yep, crop rotation.
I think we're going to see Canopy for Cradle, probably. Or you could see a Zenith for Dryad Arbor, but I think Canopy for Cradle is the correct direction.
Canopy, 1 meat, green,
okay,
gets Dryad Arbor.
Dryad Arbor, all right.
Getting out Mana Acceleration here. Next turn, a Glimpse is going to be very powerful.
Yeah, if you're going to set up for a big Glimpse turn, then this is exactly what you need to do, is just get lands in play. And then he can crop rotate into a Gaia's Cradle once that happens. And that will pump his Cradle. This is correct.
Back to Joe.
All right.
After this shuffle, anyway.
Joe, a little short on lands. Been a little heavy on swords, which has been good, but he's gonna need to do something. Caleb's building up for bigger combos now. Snapcaster Mage comes from Joe Bernal. His second draw was a land, so he can snap a swords if he needs to.
Enlightened Tutor in the hand can fetch Engineered Explosives and Umezawa's Jitte, which is already in hand.
I'm pretty sure leaving up Snapcaster Swords is probably the play here. It's the most disruptive thing you can do. It may not be disruptive enough.
And then next turn, land Jitte.
Hopefully. There's a lot of hope going on that play because they're hoping that during Caleb's Glimpse turn that a Symbiote didn't show up or something that denies GT counters.
I wouldn't be surprised, honestly, by a Snapcaster main phase to hit the Dryad Arbor.
Maybe. Probably hit the Visionary first.
I would hit the Arbor. The Arbor's more
Arbor
mana.
makes mana. So he's instead going to Stoneforge. I don't like that play as much. Unless you actually have a Swords in your hand. So he already has a GT, correct?
Yeah, I think so. Unless I missed
second GT. Yeah, I don't like that as much then.
I think Caleb is in real command right now.
Absolutely. Now Caleb plays 2 Gaia's Cradles, so he still, if he starts to combo, won't drop his land right away, in the hope that he can Cradle and then maybe crop rotation Cradle into Cradle. So he's going to start out. He's going to declare his intentions for the turn with a Glimpse of Nature.
Let's get going.
This can only mean one thing. It is time. Nettle Sentinel. Spell Pierce check. I mean, there will be one when he tries. I mean, Spell Pierce check's probably already done. He didn't Spell Pierce the Glimpse.
Land for the turn. Fetching.
Curious. I'm curious what he's playing that he needs to fetch right now, as opposed to waiting for a possible natural Cradle draw.
Savannah comes out. Visionary. Drawing 2 cards.
So he still needs a Heritage Druid. But yeah, I mean, there's no disruption in Joe Bernal's hand because he didn't keep the Snapcaster, and he does draw a Heritage Druid.
I think we're going to see a crop rotation. Or if there is, you said you saw a Heritage Druid?
Yeah, he
then
drew
never
a
mind.
Heritage. We're going to see a Heritage
There's the
Druid.
Heritage Druid. Okay, so he does not need to crop rotate yet. A lot of mana here.
Still don't understand the fetch right away. Maybe he was he had determined this was the line he wanted, so he was deck thinning.
I think Joe is trying to fake like he has Swords to Plowshares or some other removal in his hand, so that Caleb might perhaps be too conservative or something.
Perhaps. Caleb still gets the lands off this. If not, Caleb's almost certain to win right here. I think Joe got a little aggressive by playing the Mystic there. Snapping a Swords would be very relevant right here. We're thinking that Joe has a Path to Exile in his hand.
Card draw happens for Caleb. 3 mana.
4 in his hand, so 3 green in Caleb's pool. When he tries to cast something, he'll get priority. That untap's going to happen.
Hold on, he says.
He's holding, he says,
trigger.
Wait on the untap trigger, and the elf is not in play either. Okay. Joe going to path the Heritage Druid. Alright, so, if you're still remembering the untap.
There's a forest there. Tundra from Joe Bernal to cast that Path to Exile. 2 mana floating from Caleb Durward. Remember, he still has crop rotation in hand and a card draw coming. Untap, says Caleb. Draw, says Caleb. It all works. Fetch land drawn, not great. 2 mana still in pool.
Alright, so has the land, the untap. And Joe Bernal's on F6. See if Caleb can finish the job. Caleb with 2 green mana in his pool. Crop rotation, so he can make a lot of green mana if he needs to. It's almost certain it's time to do that. So the land
Gets rid of that forest that he found from the Path to Exile.
Yeah, he's going to go get a Dryad Arbor. Not Dryad Arbor, Gaia's Cradle.
Gaia's Cradle. The Cradle currently making 5 mana.
Yep. Remember to count the Dryad Arbor in there, so that is 5. So now Caleb Durward, with 1 in his pool, access to 6 mana. He does not appear to have any more creatures in his hand. I don't believe. Thorn.
That leaves him with 5 mana left and passing the turn, I think. Bob says...
Now, if he had crop rotation earlier, he would have been afforded himself the option to Horizon Canopy to draw a card during that turn and possibly continue the combo.
Yeah, that's fair.
So,
Well, it depends on what this last card is.
Right, it would have given him +1 card. It doesn't mean he would have finished the combo. Probably not, but it gives him more to work with.
I mean, there were 5 wasted mana at the end of that turn.
Yeah.
We have a fetch from Joe Bernal. Gives him the 4 mana he needs to drop the Umezawa's Jite into play and equip it to Dark Confidant. Equip, attack. What do you do about this attack? Do you block with the Nettle Sentinel, or do you let it hit you? The Nettle Sentinel block gives you 3 cards lost for the Dark Confidant being killed.
And the Confidant doesn't really matter anymore, is the thing. What is that last card in his hand? It's the Mirror Entity, correct?
Yeah.
Well, I think you try to keep all your creatures alive. You're playing for a big mirror. You're playing for Mirror Entity.
There we go.
Yep.
Now, if you're
Bob doesn't matter anymore.
If you're Joe, what do you do here? Do you off one of these elves right away?
No. Well, you know that Caleb doesn't have any more elves in hand. Caleb didn't, based on how Caleb ended his last turn, you know that Caleb doesn't have too much going on. Can go either way. If you're worried about Regal Force,
Green Sun Zenith.
Yeah, Zenith for Force. What's going to happen here is you're going to see Mirror Entity, and then Caleb just to try to go to town.
1, 2, 3. Mirror Entity. The card that Caleb drew from the draw phase was a Findhorn Elf.
What I like about the counters on Jite is it stops Mirror Entity from really pumping to a large number. He has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 mana available. So the best that Caleb can actually do on a pump is to make his team 3/3s. So he can only, well, actually that's good enough. Actually, Caleb. So here's how Caleb can win this. First, he makes his team 3/3s. In response, Joe might try to murder. So then in response to that, Caleb makes his team 2-2s. If Joe in response tries to murder into that, Caleb makes his team 3-3s. That one will resolve first. I guess the 2 GT counters will resolve. So then Joe will drop to a 1.
1, 2, 3. Oh, he's counting it out for us. 7 mana.
So the Dryad Arbor died there? Okay, it got
There we go.
killed. So 7 mana floating right now for Caleb Durward.
I think Joe's dead.
Yeah, that play I think makes Joe dead. Well,
I think no play would have actually made him live.
correct.
That's it.
Yeah.
Caleb attacks, kill ya.
Yep. Attack there does exactly 15.
You don't have to combo off if you just kill him.
No, Mirror Entity is good. Well, Mirror Entity with Gaia's Cradle is very capable of doing that.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
So Caleb Durward, 5-0, essentially, what I would guess is one win from 2 straight top 8s. He's our standard champion. He's 5-0 in the Legacy Open.
You know, right